my computer, and then I'm going to, oh yeah, go live on Facebook. Okay. Let's forget, it's this one. Okay. Okay, so let me see. All right. I don't think it's quite started yet. It says it's preparing.
I haven't done, I don't do lives very often, but I haven't done one since they changed all the interface again.
Yeah, I know. It's confusing.
Constant.
Let's see it. Okay. Still saying preparing. Let me see. Oh, I might have to click something. Nope. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Go live. There we go. All right. I think we're going. All right. Hi everybody. Is it showing up? Let's go back to the main page. All right, so hi, I'm Sunni, and I am from Yarn in Eureka, and I'm here with Anne Miner of Yarn Folk. And hopefully everybody can see us on Facebook. So as we go along, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. And I have my 16-year-old here who's gonna help monitor those in case you have any questions, then we can hopefully answer them. So without further ado, let's get started. So Anne is in, her shop's name is Yarn Folk, and she's in Ellensburg, Washington. And I'm gonna let you, so what I wanted to do was each month I wanna interview a shop owner, a different shop owner from a shop that didn't get to participate in the Have a Ball Fall Crawl. We had 35 different shops participate, but there were some folks that didn't get to for various reasons. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of keep the ball rolling and keep letting people get to know other shop owners and learn about new stores. So that's what my plan is. So Anne's first up because you were going to participate and then had to pull out because you had other stuff that you needed to work on and it was too much to do. So let's start by sharing a little bit about where each of our shops are located. So I'm going to have you go first.
Sure. I am in Ellensburg, Washington, and despite the fact that my family's lived in Central Washington for 20 years, our families still all think we live in Seattle, but we don't. We're kind of right square in the middle of the state. Ellensburg is in a really pretty valley. I live a little bit farther west, and I'm a little bit up more in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains.
Pretty. And is Ellensburg like it's a small town?
Yeah, Ellensburg is it's by far the largest town in our county, but it's still, the population of our county is about 41,000 people. So, and then our population in Ellensburg fluctuates because Central Washington University is here. And so, it depends on whether you count the student population or don't count them. And right now, what do you do? Sometimes they're here, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds similar to here because I'm in Eureka. I'm in Northern California, way up north. And our county is kind of a community as well. It's like we've got towns in the county, but we kind of think of ourselves as one community. So I'm in Eureka, and then there's Arcata, which is just a couple miles north of me, and the university is there. And so it's the same thing. We have students come and go. And so anyways, it's kind of similar size. And we're in the heart of the redwoods. We're on the coast, so we're by the ocean, and it's just beautiful here. So I wanted to ask you to share a couple of things that you love about where you live and your community.
The one thing about my community and the people in it is that this is really a place that really does really is built on local institutions. The shopping local is something that people do pretty naturally here. My shop is right next door to a family-owned hardware store that's, been there for somewhere north of 50 years. And, it's a thriving store. I watch, I can tell the seasons by, what people are, leaving Woods Hardware with. you know, we're getting our first snow of the season maybe here in the next couple of days. So you'll start to see snow shovels. So we don't have a Walmart. We don't have that kind of big box culture. So our downtown is a historic downtown, so there's a lot of community knowledge about the history of Ellensburg, and a lot of the older buildings are preserved, and it has that kind of quaint downtown historic feel to it. So that's one thing that I really love. It's also, as I mentioned, we're not Seattle, but we're close enough to Seattle that people come here for recreation purposes, and that really speaks to the natural beauty here. There's lots of outdoor recreation that people enjoy, and it is uncommonly beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, again, that's similar. We also we have a historic old town. We call it the Old Town area, where I used to have my store actually, but then I moved up to a different little neighborhood, just because it was closer to my house. I could afford a bigger space, not pay as much rent, so that was really nice. But yeah, that one of the things I love about it here is we have just inland from us, all kinds of organic farms. And so we are so lucky. We get the most amazing food here. I've always said, like, I don't think I could ever move away, because one of my friends own a peach farm, and they have the best peaches you've ever had in your entire life. And I'm like, I can't leave because I wouldn't be able to get those peaches. And it's not like a peach you buy in the store. These are like the most amazing peaches you've ever had. So I just, stuff like that. I love it here for reasons like that. We also have lots of local businesses. And similarly, people do shop local because we also don't have really big box stores or anything like that. So yeah, that's fun. Okay, so tell me, how long have you owned your shop?
I opened in April of 2013. So about 7.5 years at this point.
Okay. And what made you want to open or own a yarn store?
So I'm sure that you've experienced, people saying things to you like, oh, it must be great to, be able to do the thing that you love to do all the time. And that is not untrue, but I didn't open the shop because I love to knit. I do love to knit, but I opened the shop because I felt that that this was an area that needed one. There had been a beautiful shop up until about 2 years before I opened. And I enjoyed shopping there, and the owner retired, and the store closed, and we were without a yarn store more than an hour's drive away. And thinking about things, it's like, I think I have the skills to do this, and I was looking for a path away from my former job. And so yeah, I decided to open the shop because I felt it would meet a community need.
Cool. Yeah, it's hard. I have to be careful how I answer that question for myself. So I opened in 2008, and it was right when the economic downturn was happening. So it seemed like a crazy time to open a business, but I had my business plan ready to go for like 8 years prior to that, because I had been teaching. One of the things I was doing, I used to do like a million different things, but one of the things I was doing was teaching knitting classes. And I kind of developed this following of people that took every single class I offered. And so they kept asking me, you should open a yarn store. And at the time I was like trying to become a mom. I was, trying to get pregnant, and And then we ended up adopting our children. And so it was just like, I couldn't do it. You know, it's like, that's crazy. I can't open a business and like be a new mom. So anyway, the timing just happened the right way, that a friend of mine had a little vintage shop in our Old Town area, and she'd been asking me to bring yarn into her shop. And I was like, your shop's too small. There's nowhere to put it. And so one day she called and said, I'm moving around the corner to a bigger location. You can come in with me and have a part of the store. And I was like, oh, okay. My kids had just started preschool. It was like the perfect time. And it worked out great for me because I didn't have to be there all the time. I could have, because we took turns being in the shop. So anyway, it was a good way to start. And I started small and just kind of gradually grew bigger. I'm still a small store, but you know, now I have a nice space where I can have classes in normal times and stuff like that. So, okay, I think we had a question. We might have two questions. Let me, my 16-year-old is helping. All right, so let's see. Well, oh, that's great. Somebody asked, when is the peach season? I love that. So we are so lucky because, so these friends of mine, their farm is called Newcomb Family Farms, and they grow a whole bunch of different varieties of peaches. And the reason their peaches are so good is because Jacques, the farmer, it's a couple, Jacques and Amy, and Jacques takes care of these trees that are really old. So he has like 30-year-old trees, which is unheard of. Like if in commercial peach world, you cut down the trees after, I don't know how many years, like 10 years or something. But he's got 30-plus-year-old trees, and that's why the peaches are so amazing. They just have all this flavor. They develop more flavor as they age. So it's June to September. Like they have peaches from June to September. It's amazing. So any time in there, you can come to Eureka and have really delicious peaches. And then somebody wanted us to remind them of the names of our shops. So my shop is called Yarn, just Yarn. And your shop
is Yarn Folk.
Yarn Folk.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a good one. All right, so
I'm gonna stay for just 1 second. I'll be so sorry. I'll be right back.
Okay. So let's see. And I'll answer my own question about. I'll finish about why I wanted to own a yarn store. So anyway, people kept asking me to open one, and we actually had a couple of shops locally, but what I can say is that I felt like I could provide better customer service. so that's why I wanted to open. And I really liked teaching because I'd been teaching those classes, and the other two shops, one of them did teach some classes, but not a lot. And then the other one didn't teach any classes. And so I felt like that was something I could offer.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. So I always like to hear about what yarn store owners did before they had their shop. So can you tell us what you did before?
Oh gosh.
You could just tell one interesting thing, because I know a lot of us have done lots of things.
You know, I think that what I moved out of, you know, immediately preceding was I had been a postal employee, but and I was with the post office for about 8 years. But I think that what I'm actually going to, you know, talk a little bit about instead is my first job after I graduated from Michigan State. I sort of on a fluke moved to the Seattle area and didn't have a real definite plan. And, you know, so I was just looking for entry-level jobs, and, you know, that was 2000, and there wasn't, it wasn't real boom times in Seattle at that point. And I ended up getting a job as an administrative assistant for Art Tech, which is a fine art handling company. And that, you know, that is a job that I probably stayed in longer than I should have because I worked with such amazing people. It's like the business was formed as the for-profit arm of an art gallery. And part of its mission all along was to give working artists employment that would give them access to healthcare. And so almost all of my coworkers were visual artists, and it was just it was the most fun place to work. It was my coworkers were amazing. There was always some level of shenanigans going on, and being a small and very scrappy company, what that meant for me was that I was called on to do all kinds of things. I started out as the administrative assistant, but I moved into bookkeeping stuff. I worked on marketing. And so it was a job that really allowed me to develop a way of working that was really multifaceted. And, when you ultimately wind up, working for yourself, and, being an entrepreneur is just, having to solve the great majority of your own problems. And so I'm really grateful for that early experience in just, we don't have somebody to do this, and you want to try and, work on this database, or, just whatever. So
Yeah.
that was one
That,
of my jobs.
that's so funny because so when I graduated from college, I ended up in Seattle actually too, because my he wasn't my husband then, but my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband of more than 25 years, he ended up going to grad school at the University of Washington, and so we moved to Washington. And one of my early jobs out of college was to work at Sur La Table in the Pike Place Market.
Uh-huh.
And at the time there was only one. They hadn't franchised. So it was the original flagship store. And I worked there for a couple of years. And I also ended up I ended up being the person, like, when the cookbook buyer went on maternity leave, they were like, Sunny, fill in for the cookbook buyer. And so I got to learn how to buy cookbooks. And then when the gal went on maternity leave who did all the inventory data entry stuff, they were like, all right, Sunny, you do that. So and then I ended up being like the customer service person for the catalogs. Anyway, it was great because that was my retail experience. Like, I learned really how retail works because I got to have that job, and I learned all these different aspects of it. So it really helped when I opened the shop to have had that experience before, even though it had been years before. So that's fun. We've had like little parallel things happening. I was there before you were, but I was already here in 2000. Okay, so I want to make sure we have plenty of time. So it goes by fast. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So quickly, we don't have to go too far into this, and I'm not going to even answer this question, but I think that LYS owners have superpowers. And I thought mine was putting color together until I saw you putting your soundtrack combos together. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I want you to show, because you're wearing your soundtrack, and I think it's so beautiful. And I love what you did. So explain how you put that together, because it's so cool.
So so the soundtrack pattern is written for DK yarn, and the gauge is like 21 stitches over 4 inches. And these weird times where, like, I don't know, at that point I wasn't seeing any reps in person at all. I've still only seen one for about 5 minutes. And so, they would mail us stuff, and, you just wind up with, a pile of yarn and, maybe a conversation on the phone, and I had just, I don't know, I just, decided, it was like, I wonder what the Ariel, the new, kid silk mohair kind of carry along, I wonder what that would work, I wonder what gauge I would get if I stranded that with ultra wool fine. And it was like exactly the right gauge. I was like, oh, And so then I had a ball of the tiramisu, and it was like, oh, I think that those are long enough color sequences to work in the yoke, to kind of change at a nice pace in the yoke. And so I just started playing around with, what I had on hand. My initial thought was to put together these kits as part of the dropship program.
Oh yeah.
And my plans got foiled a little bit because they decided, Barocco decided perfectly reasonably that they weren't going to do drop ship on the brand new yarns. And so what that, I had put, a bunch of time into swatching all these different combinations. And so, I ended up just, ordering in the yarn, and I have it here, but that's kind of how
So pretty. I love it. I love it because of the halo with the, I'm really into that right now. I mean,
yeah.
everywhere, but it looks so pretty. So I love that you did that. Okay, so I want to let's share some products and things that are unique to our shops. So why don't we just go back and forth? So you do one, and then I'll do one. We'll do that. So what would you like to share?
So where I am, I don't have any local dyers who are working in any large scale. But I do, one of my favorite regional dyers is Apple Fiber Studio.
Oh, pretty.
And Apple Fiber Studio is affiliated with Apple Yarns in Bellingham, Washington. So they're north of Seattle. And this is their newest yarn, which is Cosmic Crisp. It's a fingering weight yarn that is 80% superwash blue-faced luster and 20% nylon. And they've always, Andrea is a former interior designer, and so she's got a really fun sense of color anyway. But these are some of my favorites, and they name all of their yarn bases after different varieties of apples. And so this is Cosmic Crisp, which is a brand new apple variety that was actually developed in Wenatchee, which is just about an hour north of here. And so the color names are all kind of thematic. We've got Aurora Borealis, we've got Nebula, and Deep Space. So that's a current favorite of mine.
Those are great. And so they participated in the crawl. So that's really fun. It's fun to see her. And I can't remember if I was on all of the calls or the visits for that, and it's all a blur right now because I was trying to make sure everything was working well. But so I don't even remember if she shared much of their own yarn. They probably did, but anyway, that's great. Those are beautiful. And I'm similarly going to share. So I do have a local dyer here in Eureka. It's called Tributary Yarns, and she's doing some really beautiful colors. So this is her Stream Sock base, and it's let's see, what is it? 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And this colorway is called Nordheimer. So she names her colors after local beaches and flora and fauna and stuff like that. So Nordheimer is a local beach that we really love. So that's the name of that one. Oh, rivers, a lot of rivers. And then this is her DK, which is a blue-faced luster and silk, and it's 55% superwash blue-faced luster and 45% silk. And it's really beautiful. It's got a nice that sheen to it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, what's next for you?
I also I don't know, I guess maybe about a year and a half or so ago, I approached Neighborhood Fiber Company about bringing in some of their yarns. In the past, they were doing sort of exclusively a flagship store model. Mm-hmm. And the size of shop that I am, it's a little tough for me to be anybody's flagship store because, I've got about 1,000 square feet of space, and, part of that is a space that normally we use, as social and teaching space. So a lot of times just the buy-in, to a flagship situation just is more space than I can devote to any one yarn. But they had developed.
I think about 500 square feet. So yeah.
So when they kind of developed another model where, I believe they do still have flagship stores, but they also have a smaller commitment, so I still have a commitment, to, you know, always have 3 or 4 bases, to, maintain a certain amount of stock and, a certain amount of turnover every year. But this is, on the subject of beautiful mohair carry-alongs, this is Neighborhood Fiber Loft. And it's, you get that beautiful haze, but also this is one of the, just these really rich jewel tone. The dye work at Neighborhood Fiber is so beautiful and rich, and when you get it carried on that silk, oh goodness, it's just really lovely. So that's really a favorite too.
Nice. So I was going to share this project bag, which you could use it for anything, a tote bag. It's my, it's a local artist, and her company name is Pen and Pine. She's a friend of mine, her name's Jenna, and she designed my mug, which I've shared before, but we reconfigured the design to make the tote bags, and I have them printed locally. So the whole thing is so great. And then the bag itself is, it's like a green cotton canvas, and it's huge. This bag holds so much stuff. It's because it's gusseted, so it's gigantic.
Right.
So I love this bag. You can put, it's really good for sweaters or blankets even. You can get so much stuff in there, or just as a shopping bag. So I love that one. And it's $16 there on the website. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, a couple people are saying they love the soundtrack. And I think that was it. All right. Your turn.
So one of the things that I think we've both really appreciated during these unprecedented times is the opportunity to work with other shop owners in different ways that we haven't maybe done before. And along those lines, the vendor Zooms that we've done where, rather than going to a trade show, a group of shop owners will come together on a Zoom call, and a yarn dyer or other vendors have come and done presentations to us. And those have really been fun and interesting. And so one of the dyers that I brought in as a result of that, this is Murky Depths. And so this is Debbie's DK weight yarn. And she was fantastic to work with, but then I also was able, she was able to send me ahead of time enough yarn to make a sample, so I had it ready to go when the yarn arrived. So this is the rose that grew from concrete, and it is a sort of asymmetrical long shawl. It's got one of the best uses of bobbles. The bobble technique that the pattern specifies is using a crochet hook instead of knitting needles, and it really makes them pop. So it was a really fun project to do, and I just, and Debbie helped with, I told her, this is what I want to do for a sample. What do you think about colors? So, not only was she able to, turn around my order quickly, but she was helpful in, developing a great palette to bring in. So
yeah, that's really pretty. I love those colors. That's great. All right, so I was going to share, this is the last thing I'm going to share. I had just put together kits for the Ankers hat from Petite Knits, which is just a really sweet, simple hat. I'll hold it up closer. I believe it's just a knit one, purl one rib, and then you offset it. I think that's what's happening. Or anyway, I haven't actually made it yet, but it's very, very simple. And what I put together was 1 ball of merino yak from Regia, which I love this yarn. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then 1 ball of lang mohair or kitsilke, I carry both. And you hold them together. And so again, we were talking about that halo that you get. And so this hat, and honestly, I think you could make at least 2 hats out of the yarn in the kits.
Mhm.
She's got lots of sizes. So I just put these on my website. I'll show you quickly some of the colors. There's this beautiful gold combo. This one's called raspberry, the first one I showed you. This one is kind of a terracotta, and then this one's called salmon. I think I only have 1 of these available. I've got this yarn reordered, but I don't know when I'm going to get it. So this one's green grass and lime zest, which is fun. And then this one, which is more of a burgundy combo. And then a gray. So I think those would be great. And I think they'd be really good gifts. So that was one reason I'm kind of looking for gift ideas right now, because I feel like it's time to start working on those holiday gifts. So this one would be great. You could make 1 for yourself and 1 for a friend or a family member, because there'll be definitely enough yarn for that. So, and the kits are, let's see, I'm trying to remember I think they're 38. Something like that, because this is 15 and these are 23, so I think that's right. Yeah, 38 for those, and they're on my website. Okay, do you have anything else you wanted to share?
I didn't bring out anything, but we were talking a little bit before we started streaming. So the reason why I didn't end up participating in the Have a Ball Fall Crawl was because I was transitioning my website to a Shopify site that was fully integrated with my point of sale within the store. And I just decided that was too big a project to try to work around. But everything is functional at this point. It's, there's still some things we're going to tweak and add. But one of the things I was doing today was putting kits for the soundtrack combination that I did my store sample in on the site. And right now there's still a conflict that I have to solve, but I will have kits for this version of the sweater up there soon.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to? I think that was the list. But can you share what's your website?
My website is yarnfolk.com.
Okay, great. And do you have a Facebook page and Instagram?
I do. Yeah. Everything is just Yarnfolk.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I follow you on Instagram. So this is me. I'm Yarn, and my website is just, let's see if I can get it so people can read it. Yarnfun.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. And Yarn Fun is how I had to do it because Yarn was already taken, obviously, so I couldn't be Yarn.com. So I'm Yarnfun.com, and you can find me on Instagram. I'm yarnfun518. That's my address. So I think. Oh, and I want to just make sure, because people always want to know what you're wearing. So this is the Brioche Tiles shawl by Suzanne Summer. And this was a monster project. I have to say, I loved doing it, but the whole thing is brioche. And you can kind of see, I feel like this side almost, you can see the tiles better.
She doesn't skimp on detail. I mean, it's, very elegant details, but maybe not beginner projects.
Yeah, I would say no. It took me months to finish it, which, I'm always knitting about 10 things at once, but this one, it just, it's big. It's a big shawl, which is actually kind of fun. I don't always make really big shawls, but then also, yeah, you've got the I-cord edging on it, which is really a nice detail, but it takes a long time to do that. And we did it as a knit along in the shop, and it was really fun. I think almost everybody finished, which for a big project like this says something about,
Mhm.
you know, the pattern's well written and it's fun to do. So even though it was kind of massive, most people finished it, which was
Excellent.
impressive. So we're actually over time a little bit, but thank you so much, Anne, for
Oh, that's fine.
talking with me. It was really fun. It's good to get to know you a little bit better. It's like, you know, you see people on social media and we've definitely interacted and stuff, but it's nice to get to like actually have kind of face to
A
face.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right. Well, um, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and sign off on, let's see. Oh, wait, is there another question? There is. Oh, will this be posted? Yes. Oh, okay, wait. So two things. Is Ellensburg on the way to Spokane? Somebody's asking.
Yes.
Okay. And then somebody wanted to know about if this is going to be posted. Yes, it is going to be posted. So once Facebook will automatically do it, once we finish up, it'll take a little bit of time, but eventually it will get posted on the Facebook page. And then I will also be sharing it on my Facebook page, and I'll send a copy. I hope. I'm going to try. I think I can send a copy to you, Anne, so you can also post it on your Facebook page. So
Great.
yeah. Okay, so let me stop. I'm going to stop sharing, I think. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. All right, I think I've stopped. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to stop recording and then we can kind of